Hi, I'm Tim from House of Reptiles in Tigard, Oregon. We're here for the second installment of our series on setting up a snake enclosure. In the first video, we talked about the size of the enclosure and the various choices that you have for substrates. Tonight we're going to talk about heating. And as you know, snakes are ectotherms, which means that they can't generate any or not very much of their own heat, so they're reliant upon external sources to get them warm enough to do the things that they need to do, not the least of which is digesting their food. So in captivity, that's our responsibility to make sure that we provide them the proper temperatures. We generally think about that as a thermal gradient, which means that one part of the tank is going to need to be warmer, which we typically call a basking area, than the rest of the enclosure. The basking area is usually the one that we heat, and the rest of the cage usually falls to be room temperature essentially. What those two gradients are is going to be dependent upon, or what they need to be is going to be dependent upon what species of snake that you have. So it's incumbent upon you to do plenty of research to know that what those temperatures should be. Generally, there's a fair amount of agreement in the world of herpeticulture about what the temperatures ought to be for most of these animals, so that you shouldn't run into a lot of controversy in that regard. But the temperatures that you're shooting for need to be consistent with what that animal's needs are, what that species needs are. Some racks heat from the side or the back, but most of the time you're really talking about two general options. One is heating from on top of the enclosure, and the other one is heating from underneath. Virtually never do you need to do both. That usually indicates that your heating source doesn't have enough wattage. If you're heating from above, generally you're talking about three different choices. One is a red heat bulb, one is a black heat bulb, and the other one is called a ceramic heat emitter. Ceramic heat emitters don't emit any visible light, they just put off heat. These two bulbs emit a black light or a red light, and supposedly snakes don't either see that part of the visible spectrum or they don't see it to a degree that causes them any stress. So they still get a day-night cycle even if it's on during the night. In setting it up, it's critically important that regardless of whether you're heating from above or below, that you take the temperature using some sort of reliable thermometer, and you don't want to place the thermometer on the side of the cage because that's not where the animal is. You're going to want to place it on the bottom of the cage, directly under or over whatever heat source you're using. The other option for heat, that's usually the one that we end up utilizing, is under tank heaters. Those are just simply put underneath the cage in the basking area, affixed somehow either to the surface that the cage is sitting on or to the cage itself, and plugged in, and away you go. Again, you have to take the temperature and you have to do whatever adjustments need to be made so that the temperature is just right on the floor of the cage. A lot of the times that can be done manually. There are also devices like rheostats and thermostats. There are several different companies that make those that will either help you adjust the temperature manually, or in the case of thermostats, will do it automatically for you. It's an added cost, and a lot of the time you can just kind of simply set it up so that you can get the temperature right by some other mechanisms that don't require the cost of that, but those things are always available if you need some help in getting your temperature just right. If you, as before, as with all this stuff, if you have any questions at all about setting it up, you're always free to give us a call or email us or come in the store if you're a local person, and we'll be happy to tell you, give you some advice, tell you how we do it, and show you the many enclosures that we have here. So thanks, and we'll see you next time.